I see and praise what is better, but I follow what is worse. With these words, Roman poet Ovid, 2000 years ago, named a struggle that we still all feel in the 21st century. We know what is best for our health, but sometimes a chocolate bar or a bag of crispy chips is just irresistible. We are convinced that exercising is essential, but after a hard day at work or at home with children, it is so much easier to lay down on the couch and watch TV shows instead. We experienced many times that nothing good will happen after visiting Facebook during our work, but we just can't stop ourselves. Or can we? Is there a way to ignore our urges, be consistent with our values and priorities? Can habits help us with this struggle? In this episode, I will try to answer all of these questions and even more. Let's talk about the habit of resisting temptations. Hi, my name is Andrzej and welcome to the Helpful Habits. In this podcast, we'll learn how to employ good habits that will do the hard work for us. How to change our lives for the better, not by taking massive leaps, but with the help of small, easy-to-implement steps. This podcast is brought to you by The Land of Habits, the educational board game with which you will develop new habits and skills. Check it out on landofhabits.com. Why it is so essential? You may ask yourself, do I really need to resist my temptations? Why can't I just follow the advice of Oscar Wilde? The only way to get rid of a temptation is to yield to it. Resist it, and your soul grows sick with longing for the things it has forbidden to itself. It may sound reasonable, but let's imagine a world in which you always surrender yourself to each of your temptations. Instead of a healthy lunch, you eat a bag of candies. Every time someone upsets you at work, you shout angrily at your coworkers and boss. Every time you see sexually attractive people, you grab their buttocks. Is this a recipe for a blissful life, or more likely for a disaster? Soon you will end up being obese, unemployed, or in prison. To live in a society and enjoy the benefits from having good relationships with people, we have to follow crucial social norms that sometimes are in direct conflict with our urges. Instead of yielding to them, we should manage them better. Okay, you may think. There are some rules I need to obey, some temptations I need to fight. But what is the harm in scrolling Facebook for a couple of minutes when I feel like it? What cataclysm can happen after I order a can of Coke in a restaurant? Do I really need to deprive myself of all the pleasures in my life? Of course not. We all can and should enjoy our lives. The issue isn't in eating sweets, drinking alcohol or soda, using social media or playing games. The root of the problem is when we can't stop ourselves from experiencing this type of pleasure. I know that I will need to get up early, but I can't dissuade myself from watching just one more episode, even though it is already 2 a.m. I'm stressed if I will be able to create the report on time, but the temptation to play just one more match in my favorite game is too strong to resist. This is why it is so essential to be able to manage our urges. There is a proper time and place for experiencing pleasures. Let's examine the kissing case. If you kiss your partner during a romantic dinner with candles, it can be a great feeling for both of you. But if you kiss a stranger just because you feel this desire and you yield to it, it can end up terribly, with your nose broken or a police officer arresting you. Like Seneca said, the greatest power of ruling consists in their exercise of self-control. The problem with self-control is that we have too little of it. Each time we do something hard or we need to make a decision, we use up some of it. This is why in the evening or especially at night, it is so damn hard to do the right things. Fortunately, habits can help us with that without spending the precious and limited resource of self-control. Let's find out which habits can help us avoid some temptations. How can you develop a habit of resisting temptation in your own life? behaviors. At the beginning, I would like to distinguish bad habits from addictions. Addictions are much stronger. They force us to do something, even if we don't want it, against our will or desire. In many cases, addiction is also at the physical level. Our body demands a specific substance. Habits, on the other hand, work quite differently. We can easily decide to skip the automatic behavior this time. Only if we are on autopilot will we behave according to the habit. But with a conscious decision, we can choose to ignore it. Below, I present my own selection of temptations. Each of them starts with the letter S. My top 5 S's are snooze, snack, social media, smartphone, and shows. Snooze. When the alarm clock wakes us up in the morning, it is so tempting to just hit the snooze button and lie in the warm bed for 5 more minutes. And then another 5, and just one more 5. Or this is just what we tell ourselves, even though deep down in our hearts we know it will be much more. Snoozing may look innocent, but this interrupted sleep won't really regenerate you, and it will steal precious minutes for other activities. After snoozing for 45 minutes, you will finally wake up and do everything in a rush, stressing about if you will be late for work. It is just not worth it. When we want to change a habit, instead of getting rid of it, it is better to replace it with a different, more positive one. The best way to do it is to think about the reward. What is your reward in this habit? Why do you do it? In the snoozing habit, it could be the feeling of relaxation or escape from hard and harsh reality, all the problems that are waiting for you to solve them today. By lying in the bed, you don't need to think about them yet. Ask yourself, what other activity can give me the same or very similar reward without negative side effects? For me, it is listening to music. By playing my favorite morning playlist, I can feel relaxed and energized at the same time. Music keeps me also from diving into the problems of today. Another idea is to listen to a fun podcast with episode lasting less than 20 minutes. In this way, you can effectively wake yourself up, spend time in a pleasant way, learn something new, and have a few laughs. Isn't it more valuable than just lying in bed pretending that you are sleeping? A real relaxation is far better than fake sleep. Snacks. In not so distant past, I had a problem with eating sweet snacks. Every time I saw a piece of chocolate or a cookie, even out of the corner of my eye, my hand and mouth followed quickly, grabbing and consuming this treat. Sometimes I won an internal struggle and refrained from eating it, but I always needed to pay the price with my self-control resource being reduced and my attention being distracted. Finally, I realized that I don't need to expose myself to temptation and fight it. It is much easier to hide the temptation than to resist it. I packed all the sweets into one box and put it on top of a high shelf that is reachable only if you use a chair or a ladder. This way, the snacking problem disappears. What the eye don't see, the heart does not grieve over. This strategy works best as a prevention technique, but you can also use it as a response. Let's imagine that your partner carelessly left some sweets on the table. You work hard, and after taking a break, you see your favorite chocolate treat waiting for you to grab it. Now you can follow your heart and take it, but instead of putting it into your mouth, you should move it into a better destination, your sweet box on the top shelf. Remember that your problems won't melt like chocolate when you eat comfort food. That is why it is better to hide snacks and prepare a healthy meal instead that will give you the energy that you need to really solve the problems. Social media. I am a big fan of fantasy books and shows. Looking or imagining dragons, magic and elves gives me the opportunity to visit a very different, more attractive world than the real one. But when I go back to reality, I don't expect to see a dragon flying nearby. It isn't the case with social media. We treat what we see there, the perfect photos, the stories of success, as a reality, when in many situations they are as fictional as unicorns. Part of it may be real, the hoofs, the horse neck, but the most spectacular part, the horn, is not, or it is paid with huge price. When we go to social media, we are looking for comfort. Innocent entertainment that will distract us from boredom, but instead we look at the perfect lives of our friends, compare them to our ordinary lives, and end up being depressed because we weren't in Zanzibar on our holidays or finished an MBA this year. Looking for comfort brought us discomfort. What we should do instead? Let me recommend two options, one inside and one outside. Instead of looking for something interesting in the outside world, you can direct your attention to your own thoughts and feelings. Try to be more mindful or insightful. You can think about your goals, dreams, or plans. You can evaluate if you are on the right track to pursue them. You can see the big picture of your life or key relationship. You can consult crucial decisions with the best informed person about your life, yourself. After feeling bored, you can give yourself a special gift of self-reflection, which will lead to happier thoughts, that you are more in control of your own life. It is much better than visiting social media and feeling more helpless. The second option is to use outside voice. But instead of a snack, which is scrolling Facebook or Instagram, give yourself a healthy meal by reading a book or listening to a podcast. In this way, you will get the break that you needed from work or other demanding activities. But after it, you will have more energy and solutions to go back and finish what you started. Smartphone. The smartphone has plenty of good qualities. It is our backup memory, it provides music when we need it, it captures precious moments of our lives with one simple photo. This is why we shouldn't throw it away and eliminate it completely from our lives. But during the working hours, it can be the biggest distractor of all. The smartphone is an entertainment center with games, movies, music, messages, and news. Everything is just in one small device, always waiting for you to use it, within the reach of your hand. Putting the smartphone next to our laptop, on which we work, will create the constant temptation to grab the phone. Every time we will feel boredom, it may be irresistible to use it. How can we prevent it from happening? Very simply, by hiding this tempter. My favorite spot to hide my smartphone is just behind the screen of my laptop. I cannot see the phone there, and because of that, I'm not tempted to use it in a moment when I need a short break. Out of sight, out of mind. Another good hiding place can be inside your drawer, in a backpack, handbag, on the floor, where you can plug in the phone for charging. The safest spot will be far away from you on the other end of your apartment. If you put your smartphone there, you can use the power of your laziness. You probably won't feel like going there just to check if you have any new messages. In this way, you will significantly limit how many times per day you grab your phone and how much time you spend with it in your hand. By applying this strategy, you can not only eliminate temptation and distractions in your work, but also save a ton of time. What habits will help you with this? Pre-performance routine and hot potato. Let me explain what I mean by each of them. The pre-performance routine is a set of activities that you do each time before the performance. It could be running in a race or working on the project. My pre-performance routine includes hiding my smartphone, closing unnecessary tabs and apps, pouring water into glass, and a few more. For you, it can be just the first part. After you are about to sit and do the serious work, you should immediately hide your smartphone, always in the same spot. Hot potato is a habit of throwing away or hiding something that is a source of temptation or distraction for you as fast as possible. After you see your smartphone, sweets, magazine, you should immediately stand up, grab them, and hide them in a safe place where they won't bother you again. The hot potato habit is your safety net. If you forget to hide the snacks or smartphone in advance, you can deal with the problem when you see it for the first time. Shows and games. The last S stands for shows or super addictive games. This temptation is especially dangerous. It attacks us at night when we are the weakest, deprived of energy and self-control. When we succumb to this temptation, it won't be satisfied with only a bite of your time. It will eat the biggest possible portion out of your night. You fool yourself that it will be just one episode or just one game, even though deep down in your heart you know it will be much more. I know it from my own experience. What can we do to enjoy our favorite kind of entertainment without the risk that we will end up at 3 a.m. exhausted? I recommend, one more time, using the hot potato habit. After you finish watching one episode, playing one game, you need to immediately turn off the TV, close the tab in your internet browser or the app with the game. By breaking the connection between you and the source of the temptation, you can think more clearly and make a more reasonable decision about whenever you really have time for more entertainment. Sometimes the answer to this question will be yes, and you will have to turn on TV, laptop game for the second time. But this little inconvenience is nothing in comparison to staying up all night, binge watching the whole new season of your favorite TV show. In episode 5, The Habit of Shopping, we discussed how great 24-hour delay on more expensive purchase can be. Here we have the same idea in a nutshell. Just a moment of not exposing ourselves to the source will allow us to cool down emotions and get more clarity about the situation. How can you activate a habit of resisting temptations? Triggers. This time we don't have to find clever triggers. The situation of temptation did it for us. Triggers are self-evident. Whenever you feel the temptation to do something, you can, or at least try to, avoid it by doing the recommended behaviors. How can you reward yourself in the habit of resisting temptations? Rewards. As a Stoic practitioner, I try to live according to the rules and values I hold dear. One of them is self-respect gives me more satisfaction than momentary pleasure. Yes, eating a piece of chocolate cake or a bag of crispy chips will be enjoyable, but just for a moment. After it, I will regret this decision for much longer. And the reverse is also true. By depriving myself the pleasure from eating empty calories, I will be sad for a moment. But after resisting the temptation, I will feel proud of myself. This feeling of inner strength, being in control of my own life and decisions, is much more satisfying than even the best dessert available. It doesn't mean that I don't eat any sweets at all. Every Saturday and family holiday like my kid's birthday, I eat cake like every normal human being. What I try very hard to avoid in my life is eating comfort food outside the schedule, succumbing to whims or urges. I encourage you to test a similar approach in your life. Reward yourself with positive thoughts or compliments about your strong will and character. The complete formula to the habit of resisting temptations. Sentence. In this episode, I recommend many different habits that can help us better manage temptations. Let's sum them up in the form of habit-forming sentences. Snooze. After the alarm clock wakes me up in the morning, I'll immediately stand up and play my morning playlist. Thanks to that, I'll feel energized and relaxed at the same time. Snacks. After I see a tasty snack, I'll immediately grab it and put it away from me to a special container. Thanks to that, I'll feel proud of myself and my strong will. Social media. after feeling bored, I'll immediately take a break and reflect on my own life, what I am grateful for, what are my plans and dreams. Thanks to that, I'll rest for a while from the work. Or after being bored, I'll immediately take a break and start reading a book or listening to a podcast. Thanks to that, I'll rest for a while from work. Smartphone. After I am about to sit and do the serious work, I'll immediately put my smartphone into airplane mode and hide it behind the screen of my laptop. Thanks to that, I'll be glad that I'll be able to work in high focus. Or after I see my smartphone during managing a task, I'll immediately grab it and hide it in a safe place where it won't bother me again. Thanks to that, I will be able to work in high focus. Shows. After I finish watching one episode of a TV show, I'll immediately turn off the TV, close the tab in my internet browser. Thanks to that, I'll breathe a sigh of relief that I avoided a potential disaster. Final words. Avoiding temptations can be really hard. I am speaking from my own experience. As an entrepreneur, I don't have a boss telling me what to do. I could decide without a need to consult anybody, and unfortunately I have done it more than once, to play Civ 6 or The Witcher 3 the whole day instead of working on my projects. Habits help me a great deal to tame my own laziness and semi-addictive behaviors. Use at least one of the 7 habits I recommended, manage your temptations in a better way, and give yourself a reason to be proud of yourself. May the power of good habits be with you, and till next time.